I'd like to thank those of you from the media who joined us this morning. Thank you also to the elected officials who represent several districts throughout St. Louis County. And thank you to the courageous citizens standing here in support of the effort to end discrimination for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community. Your voices have been heard in Olivette and in several other St. Louis County municipalities. A little more than a year ago, University City's City Council took the bold step of bolstering their non-discrimination ordinances to make explicit additional protections for persons on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. That council deserves credit for catalyzing a process of change that continues to move through other municipalities. Olivette has addressed LGBT equality by adopting 2 related non-discrimination ordinances following the lead of our neighbors to the east. Our 5 councilpersons don't always agree on everything, but we were unanimous in our support of extending the protections offered through the bills we passed. There simply was no question in our deliberations that it was the right thing to do. The night we voted for final passage, several citizens, including our now state representative, Tracy McCreary, spoke in favor of the action we were considering. Upon our unanimous approval of the ordinances, approximately 20 citizens, many of whom are Olivette residents, stood and applauded. For me, personally, it was a touching moment. I consider what we did a decidedly positive step forward for Olivette, not only showing our support for the many same-sex couples who maintain households in our city, but beyond our city limits, supporting the general advancement of equality. Our city's motto is Olivette, in the center of it all. Judging by the individuals gathered in this room today, we truly are in the center of it all. On the issue of LGBT equality, we are at the epicenter of making real progress. Along with University City, Clayton, Richmond Heights, and hopefully many more cities to follow. Looking beyond our region's patchwork quilt of 91 municipalities, it is now time for St. Louis County to join in protecting all of its citizens, including the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community, from discrimination in matters of employment, housing, and public accommodations. Thank you. And next, we'll hear from Representative Stacy Newman.
Good morning. I am State Representative Stacy Newman from the 73rd District, and I am very proud to be here in recognition of the efforts to end discrimination in St. Louis County. As the chair of the Missouri Legislative Progressive Caucus, we have issued right here this letter of support for all cities to do exactly what Olivette has done in protecting all of its citizens from discrimination. 17 St. Louis County state reps do support, as their signatures attest, updating existing protected classes to include the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community. We've heard the stories, and we know that this form of discrimination actually exists. Unfortunately, in most parts of St. Louis County, gay people can still be fired from their job simply for being gay. Lesbians can be denied the American dream of owning a home, and transgender citizens can still be denied access to coffee shops and libraries. This form of discrimination is nothing new. Laws were established to protect individuals on the basis of certain characteristics such as sex, religion, national origin, etc. However, absolutely no federal or state protections for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community exist. But 22 various cities across the nation, including the District of Columbia, have inclusive protections. Missouri is not one of those states. While numerous cities across the country have already successfully incorporated these protections, we are now calling on our local municipalities to do the same. In St. Louis County, we have seen University City, we have seen Olivette, and my own district municipalities, Clayton and Richmond Heights, successfully incorporate sexual orientation and gender identity as a protected class. In addition, St. Louis City, Kansas City, Columbia, Jackson County, and Jackson County also offer inclusive protections for the LGBT community in employment, housing, and public accommodations. I want to thank you, as we all do, to the municipalities who believe in protecting its community from discrimination. Without these courageous steps, the LGBT community would be faced with constant reality that they too could be fired from their job, denied housing and access to public accommodations, simply because of their orientation and identity. Thank you. And next, I'd like to introduce my colleague, State Representative Scott Sipton.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm State Representative Scott Sipton. I represent Afton and Lemay in the Missouri House. As Councilman Hauser and Representative Newman mentioned, University City, Olivette, Clayton, and Richmond Heights have protections for gay and transgender workers, but they're the only 4 municipalities in St. Louis County that do out of more than 100. In 2011, a Gallup poll indicated that 89% of Americans think that gays should be protected from being unfairly fired. I hope that more municipalities will follow in the footsteps of the 4 that have already adopted these protections, because it provides for a stronger workforce and a stronger community. You know, for individuals who come to work every day in fear of their identity being exposed or being used against them, the workplace can be a scary place. It's a little hard sometimes to talk about what you did last weekend if you are concerned about an adverse job action just based on your orientation or identity. Very simply put, hardworking, highly performing employees should not be fired simply for being gay. We all value hard work and dedication, and it's no different for gay, lesbian, transgendered individuals as it is for anybody else. Good work is good work. Fortunately, many top St. Louis companies and Fortune 500 companies have already themselves adopted protections for these workers. 86% of the Fortune 500 companies, in fact, have workplace and employment protections for gay individuals. Half of the Fortune 500 has protections for gender identity. Here in St. Louis, Leclerc Group is among the leaders in this area, and there are others. For St. Louis to remain competitive in the global marketplace, we need citizens to feel comfortable knowing they are protected in their home, in their community, and in their job. And that's what we should move forward on. Next, I'd like to introduce Frank Montgomery. Frank is a civil rights analyst with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here today. As many of you know, HUD is the national agency charged with ensuring that all persons have equal access to housing of their choice. In other words, housing free from discrimination. The Federal Fair Housing Act, as amended by the 1988 amendments, prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, sex, religion, national origin, disability, and familial status. I am pleased to inform you that we have reached an important milestone in HUD's effort to ensure equal access of all persons to its assisted and insured housing. On February 3rd of this year, HUD published a final rule entitled Equal Access to Housing. That rule basically says in all HUD programs, regardless of one's sexual orientation, gender identity, or marital status, the persons should have access to all housing that HUD manages, operates, rehabilitates, or provides funding for. That rule became effective this year on March 5th. With doing that, HUD has expanded its family definition to include the LGBT group, to include gender identity, sexual orientation, and marital status. HUD has taken a bold step here to send a strong message that cities like the city of St. Louis, who have been so progressive in adding sexual orientation to their ordinance, HUD has decided that we need to join in with them and do what we can on our level to provide support to the LGBT community And what we're doing is saying discrimination on any level is not welcome. However, we're going to say as it relates to HUD programs and FHA loans, we discourage any discrimination against the LGBT community and their families. And what we would hope is that the county, as well as other municipalities in the outlying areas, will also adopt similar language to offer protection to the LGBT community. We are in this fight to prevent discrimination on any level, but HUD's job is to eradicate discrimination in any housing. And so in doing so, this final rule will help us going forward and enforcing some protections against the LGBT community. Thank you. And to speak next will be SEIU Local 1 Vice President Nancy Cross.
Thank you, Franklin. Good morning on behalf of SEIU Local 1 Employees International Union. I am proud to stand here today in support of extending inclusive non-discrimination protections for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community throughout St. Louis County. These protections are instrumental in creating not only a vibrant workplace environment, but also making sure that our companies and their employees remain competitive in the global marketplace. Too many times we have seen discrimination occur in the workplace because of someone's sexual orientation or gender identity. In the majority of cities in St. Louis County, LGBT workers can be fired because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. In practical terms, this means that if an employer finds out a worker is lesbian, gay, or transgender, management can legally discriminate against this group of employees in hiring, promotions, or even fire a worker without cause. As was highlighted by the former speakers, this creates a hostile work environment where employees live in fear of their employer. Expanding non-discrimination protections to include these categories does not add any special protections that haven't already been established. For a city, this is a proactive step that local municipalities can take to ensure that they, along with St. Louis County, remain the economic engine for the region. We are seeing great strides made by cities to include these protections, and we hope that this continues until we end discrimination in the workplace. Thank you.